My newest guest on for this conversation that we are continuing really around wisdom versus knowledge, because you know what? We can go Google anything these days and AI will fill out the rest, but nobody can replace the wisdom in our souls and the experience that we have that shows up. So um, I'm excited to introduce, and if I mess up your name, I'll just Avalaura Gaither. Did I say that right?
Avalaura Gaither.
Close. All right.
I've
So,
heard a lot worse.
so I'm going to just introduce everyone by reading your bio, and then we'll go in for the conversation from here. And she's an internationally acclaimed intuitive consultant and transformational life coach. She beckons you to embrace your true self and embark on your extraordinary life journey today. With an unwavering passion for empowering leaders and high achievers to manifest their boldest dreams, Avalaura guides those ready to live a life of freedom, shedding limiting beliefs and no longer serve them. She offers a holistic approach, transforming lives, relationships, and businesses. She's an international keynote speaker, podcast creator. She's spoken to sold out events and retreats and for notable organizations for over 17 years. She's a licensed social worker, Reiki master, life coach, and wellness expert. She also has a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in social work from Howard University. She is also really focused on, I see that she's had a lot of recognition and visibility, Real Lives of the Real Housewives of the Potomac, Men's Health, Reader's Digest, The Root, and the Huffington Post. So I am super excited to sit and have this conversation with you today.
I'm super excited to be here. I love it when I don't know what I'm getting into and I just show up.
I've always find that's usually where the magic lives, because it's just, trust and flow. So how did you get started? You've got a really amazing journey, it sounds like. So how did you get here? What sort of like dropped you from average, normal life, whatever that might have been, or not normal, who knows these day and age, to where you started?
So you want the long or the short version?
The moderately short version. Give us enough for it to be valuable for someone who maybe is really having a dark night of the soul right now, because we know there's a lot of that going around.
A lot. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I like how you put that, because I think in all intents and purposes, I was living an average life, even though that's not what I wanted or thought I was doing at the time, right? Like how many of us, we want to do more. We think we're doing more. And then we realize when we finally get to that place, like, wow, I wasn't really even doing nothing. Like, what was I really doing at that point? But like you said, I've collected a lot of receipts over the years, right? I've been doing this 18 years now, and I did start out in social work. I started out wanting to be a therapist. And so I got my bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in social work from Howard University. And I was in the social work field. I was a program director at an outpatient mental health clinic here in Greenbelt. And I quickly realized that this was not going to work for me. That it was even then I knew, I was like, this is for the birds. This is not aligned with who I am. And I just realized that I wasn't really going to be able to use my gifts. I wasn't really going to be able to help people heal. I couldn't really help. The system was not set up to help people to get to the root of their problems. And I just felt like, the system was really designed to help people to just maintain their dysfunction. And I was not set up for that. Like, I actually really wanted to help people heal. And when I realized that was not a possibility within the scope of where I was, I started getting depressed. I started feeling a little helpless, powerless. Like, here I am. I worked so hard to get here. I did everything that everybody told me to do. I got all the degrees and, all of this stuff. And, obviously I'm not here for the money, because who the heck is really getting paid in social work? Right. And I can't even really help people. Like, what's really going on? And so I sat in that, stuck for a while, until I finally said, you know what? I don't know what to do. And I reached out for help. Like, who knew? And so here I am, a social worker, trying to help other people, and I couldn't help myself. And I finally just had to reach out, and I talked to a colleague, and she said, I'm having a women's retreat. Why don't you come on out and join us? It'll be good for you. And I had never been to a women's retreat before. I had no idea how it was going to help, but I didn't care at that point. She had said, let's go bungee jumping. I would have done it. Like, I was just at that point.
Right.
And so I went, and it really ended up being the best thing that I could have done at that time. It was a point of reflection. It was a point of reset. It was realizing that how unhappy I really was. I had gained weight. I realized I wasn't happy. I wasn't smiling anymore. Just so many different things. I was really disconnected from myself. And getting to that retreat, just kind of getting back to meditating and doing yoga and, just speaking to these other women and getting back to soulful self-care, as I call it. I just realized how horrible things have become, and this dark hole, the dark night of the soul. Like, I just realized, I was there. I was really there. And, at one point in the retreat, I just found myself on my hands and knees crying out to God, like, you got to get me out of here. I can't do this. This is not what I was created for. I am more than this, but I feel totally helpless and powerless, and I don't know what to do. And so I literally boo-hooed, ugly cried, just like let it all out, like they said, lay it all out on the altar, like it was, it was
just
out
that
there.
Soul moving.
Oh, yes. And really just allowing myself to sit in it, because we don't do that. Like, we don't sit in the discomfort, we try to see it and run away with it. And this was really a moment where I just had to sit in it. And after that, I just kind of, got up and like, okay, that felt good. Whew, that was cleansing. And then I was like, oh, shoot, like, I got to go back to work on Monday. Like, like, what in the world? Like, this is not over. I'm still in this, right? But I did. I had an amazing time at the retreat, went back home, went to work on Monday. Everything as usual, getting back to my soulless work. And, my boss calls me into his office, and, he sits me down. He says, Avalaura, it's been great having you. You're amazing, but I got to let you go.
Wow.
Right. Exactly. What? Excuse me? Like, do you know who you're talking to? Like, ego really kicked in. Like, how dare you? All the work that I have done, everything that I've committed to this organization, and you're me? I was having a moment. And then spirit kicked in and was like, well, Avalaura, like, why are you upset? This is what you prayed for.
Oh, I know that feeling. I call that gentle nudge off the cliff. You're like looking over, and then, hey, let me help you.
Like, hello, you asked for this, so now what are you gonna do? And that really became my mission. I was like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna go and just apply for another social work position? I could easily do that in the DC area. Social work positions are a dime a dozen. But I knew I couldn't do it. Like, I just knew I could not go back to that work. And so I decided that I was just going to venture into the path of the unknown. I was just going to, take the red pill, if you will, and just take that deep dive and, do the work that I knew that I was called to do, even though I really had no idea what that was or what it looked like. I really didn't know. And so I did what I tell my clients they need to do, but many don't. I took what I call my 6-month healing sabbatical, and I really did my own work. That's when I, started my life coaching certification. I became, I studied Reiki, became a Reiki master teacher, studied aromatherapy, hypnotherapy, crystal therapy, chakras, like anything I could get my hands on healing arts, I was in it.
Yeah.
And then after that 6 months, I opened up Avalaura's Healing Center, and that was in November of 2005. So we're literally celebrating my 18th year doing this work right now this month.
Hallelujah. And who are your primary, like, how did you get to find the people? Because there's like those, usually that sweet spot of the
Yeah.
amazing person that you just really know that, and you unlock them with the healing, that it transforms. Who are those people and how
Yeah.
did you find them?
You know, I mean, you're absolutely right, because it's been a journey, right? Especially over this time. You start out one way, and let me say, I had no idea how to run a business.
Mhm.
I had no idea, all the different moving parts of
Yeah.
things. I just knew I had a calling. I
Mhm.
just knew I was passionate about this work. And I really kind of fumbled, if you
Right.
will, into it until I decided to get some real help and get coaches and all of that and say, okay, look, I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
I'm just manifesting my little butt off right now, but I need to be more intentional about what's going on.
Right.
And so that's when I really discovered it. And, and I really discovered, there are people like me. I've always been an overachiever, overcoming perfectionist, highly educated. So that really kind of can get in the way of intuition and your own, inner wisdom, so to speak, because we have that override of all the things
Yeah.
that we've been taught that we think we know.
Yeah.
And so the person that seemingly has it all together, but when I really needed help most of my life, I had no idea what to do, where to turn. And so I suffered until I finally just broke down and said, let me trust somebody.
Mhm. Right.
Let me trust somebody and get some help, because how am I supposed to get help when I'm always the one helping everybody else?
Yeah.
And so that really is my client. Like, you've done everything. You got the receipts. You checked off all the boxes. You did
Mhm.
whatever people told you to do for success. And you get to this mountaintop and you're like, hell no, this is a molehill. This is not it.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what do you tell people to do? What's the first thing that you recommend for someone to do when they realize they just smacked the dead end, even though they might have spent a lot of money and a lot of energy? What's the first thing?
Yeah, so I have what I call my AAA, which really guided me through my own process. And that first point really is acceptance.
Mhm.
And acceptance ain't sexy. It's not the thing, right, that we want, because
Mhm.
we want things to be the way we want them to be
Mhm.
magically right
Yeah,
now. Snap a
absolutely.
finger. And
Mhm.
acceptance is realizing this is not where I want to be. This is where I am right now in this moment. And I
Ooh,
just have to
yeah.
sit here, right? Sit my little butt down and accept it and breathe it in and say, okay, I'm here. I
Mhm.
don't like it. Now, where do I want to go?
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you for that. What's so in the process of, you've done all these different things. I know you speak and you travel and you do everything. What is something that really gets in the way of the highly successful person?
Our own egos. I mean, and really that's what stopped me from getting help, and I wasn't even where I am now, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of times I think we feel like we have so much to protect. you
Mm,
know it's hard to be vulnerable, to really trust people and bring them in, because when you look at me on IG or whatever, I have this life and I have to actually talk to somebody and say, you know what, it really is not all that. It's not.
right. Yeah. That.
And that's hard when you're really successful, because you feel like you have more to lose. Like, you've done all this work, you've
Mhm.
created this stuff, you've created this image,
Mhm.
and you have all these things, and now you have to admit to somebody, like, you really don't know what you're doing in this aspect of your life. Like, there's these other aspects you're good at, but you don't know what you're doing, and you're supposed to know, or you think you're supposed to know. And
Yeah.
now you got to trust somebody else or somebody else's, right, to help you to figure it out.
Right. And knowing that the ego can be a positive thing, what do you have to say about, a lot of people right now are out chasing the ego death? Any commentaries or perspectives on that?
Yeah, we have a saying that God don't make no mistakes. Um, Right. And so if God created ego, there's a reason for it, right? Like,
Yeah.
obviously, I'm not going to kill something that's a part of me. It's
Yeah.
as much a part of me as my
Mhm.
spirit, as my physical body, as everything else.
Yeah.
So why would I kill something that is
Mhm.
meant to be there? So really what it is why is it here? And how can I use it effectively? Right. And so, but again, we want to bypass that stuff. We want the magic pill. We want it now. So that seems like just kill it and I'll be good.
Yeah.
Until you realize you actually need it. And you're like, wait, what's going on? How come I'm not thinking properly? And I'm not analyzing and all of this stuff. And I'm just woo-woo, mountainside. You have no ego. You have no grounding force.
We are singing off the same chorus line of heresy right now, because that is like, it's amazing. I had somebody that said that to me the other day. They're like, I had an ego death this summer. And I'm like, but make sure you don't let anything in that the ego is protecting you from. So, but
It
that's
just
like,
goes to show like how much we really don't understand about ourselves. And that's okay. Again, accept that so
yeah.
you can then do the work to learn more.
Mhm.
But no, like ego is that thing. It's very fragile. I teach my clients all about ego and all the different ways that it manifests and how it blocks certain things so that you can be aware of it. Because if you understand it, then you
Yeah.
know how to guard yourself and use it.
Yeah.
The ego is your protection mechanism.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is there to protect you, even though, and this is the thing about ego, even though it is immature,
Yeah.
because it was developed when we were young, when we were small. And so it was that thing, right, that kept us grounded, that kept us here, even if we experienced trauma, even if we had, all these emotional pitfalls and experiences, things, ego kept us alive and kept us here.
Yes.
So you need that protection. You
And
just don't need it ruling. You don't need it in charge.
exactly. And I'm really happy to be having this conversation, because I had before I dropped out and pursued an entrepreneurial opportunity, I was in sociology and psychology in college. And I think there's a lot, and now this is probably where I'll probably draw some, but there's a lot of people out doing spiritual transformation work, but trying to hunt this ego and kill it. And you don't realize, if I do spiritual warfare healing and I don't hang a shingle that says, come with your demon to see me, but it shows up.
Yeah.
And I find it's worse. And the attachments and the energetic assaults and the demonic entanglements are deeper with people who have thrown that guard down.
Yeah.
So, but we could probably go a whole nother rabbit hole.
Could, but to give an example, and my people are gonna be laughing because I literally just said this yesterday, so they're gonna laugh at me. But the last couple of days we've been having a discussion on my Facebook timeline about cults.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Because watching the Twin Flame documentary, and I just got pissed all the way off. Now, none of these documentaries are good, even though we're all fascinated by it. Like, we're tuned in and we can't stop. But particularly this one really pissed me off because they were supposedly coaches and healers. And, and really just preying on people who just wanted love. All they wanted was love, and they sold them a bill of goods. And, just so much damage done. But the reason this is funny is because I was like, I could have done a live on talking about cults and, how it works. And they were like, you still can. And so here I am today. Right?
Here we are. 5-1 Heretics United. Here we are.
Here it is coming up. But no, I bring all of that up because if your ego is not there, you can get involved in a cult. How many of us watch this stuff and we're like, oh, I would never do that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that is so crazy. How could you let somebody control you like that and manipulate you like that? When you leave common sense at the door.
Oh, yeah.
That's how.
Yes.
That's how. When you're so desperate, right? For what you want, you leave common sense at the door and you just say, whatever it takes.
Yeah. Oh gosh, thank you for I'm glad that this is where, because we said we started with we'll see where this goes. I'm so glad it's gone here because it is. And I think that this polarization, this consciousness polarity stuff that's going on, where it's like you got to hate everybody that doesn't match your exact ideology, is causing some really dangerous polarizations that feed that whole cult movement. Are you familiar with the book Pendulum by Michael Drew? And oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the other author's name.
I'm not. I don't think so.
So he went all the way back to the time of like biblical times and studied the 40-year cycles of human behavior all the way forward. And they're very disturbing when you actually pattern them, because we go from a very me-centric, which is, of course, well, maybe some ego involved.
Yep.
Very me-centric worlds are actually much safer than we-centric worlds. Because
Absolutely.
it's the cult that will justify going to the middle of the village square.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, and the whole thing is interesting, right? Because just understanding that everything is in a cycle, right? Like none of this is new. And again, and this is why I love psychology. Like I just geek out over psychology because when you really understand human nature, you can understand everything.
Yeah.
Like it's all right there. There's a reason for it all. But what happens is we get so judgmental about it, right?
Yeah.
You know, we're so busy trying to make ourselves better by making others feel worse that we don't just look to understand, well, what in me, right, will respond to something similar to that.
Yeah.
Right. So now it becomes a lesson for you and using your ego to understand rather than to put others down and to judge.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. Okay. That I think gave some soul food to whoever it is that needs some feeding of the soul. In this day and age, I know there's a lot of starvation. So where can they stay connected to you? I mean, obviously you have your URL behind your head, but I'm still just gonna, that makes it easy. I think I'm gonna take your guidance on that one. I'm like, that makes it easier.
Listen, especially when your name is Avalaura, right? Like they're like, how you spell that? It's right here.
Very good. All right.
But yes, you can find me online. I am Googleicious. I mean, I'm everywhere. So you can connect with me on my hub at avalaura.com. Connect with my social media. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, IG, all of it.
Yeah.
Whatever your preferred method is, and just connect, say hello. Hey, say I saw you. I heard your conversation. Request a consultation. Just hit me up. I have a very cool open community, so we have fun.
Fantastic. All right. Well, any last words of wisdom for people to contemplate today?
Yeah, I always say there's no accidents, there's no synchronicities. And so if you are finding yourself here in this moment, there was clearly something for you, so really kind of tune into that and figure out what it is and use it. Don't let it pass you by. Don't just say, that's interesting, and then do nothing about it, right? Actually use it and take some form of action.
Love that. Well, thank you so much. It's been great to share this time with you. And I hope that for all of you who are listening, it was of great benefit to you. So be blessed, and I will talk to you soon.